This is episode 10. Today we have Austin Rappold. Did I say
How's it going? Yeah, it's Rappold.
Okay.
Most people pronounce it Rappold, but it's actually Rappold.
It sounds more dignified when you say Rappold.
Right. I know. I used to argue that it was Rappold when I was a kid, and then my dad sat me down and he just set me straight.
You will accept our family name, and you're going to like it.
Exactly.
So, what do you do?
Yeah, so I'm an actor, writer, director, and producer, and I run a production company called Rappold Entertainment. And yeah, we recently started the production company like 3 weeks ago, and I've been acting professionally for the last 3 to 4 years. I guess when I was a kid, I was always acting and we were always making movies, but professionally, I signed with a manager years back. So yeah, man.
Okay, cool. So, the point of the podcast is to, because we literally only met last night. So the idea of this is getting people that are in the entertainment industry to talk about like the real, like the dirt of it, like get into like what are the struggles you have in the industry. So the question I usually ask everybody is, what is the thing that you feel holds you back the most?
Yeah, so I usually, when I have friends that ask me about getting into acting and that industry, is I tell them how much they're gonna have, because they think that they're gonna go to an audition and get this part, and then their whole career is gonna be made. But there's so much that you have to put in first before, there are those instances where people get super lucky, but those are 1 in a million, like winning the lottery. So I always tell people, like, be prepared that you're going to spend $300 to $600 on headshots. You're going to have to spend, depending on where you live. Like, so I grew up in Vernon when I first started going to the city for auditions. So
my hometown.
Yeah, that's a $30 train ride into the city, and then you're usually going to eat in the city, so that's another $15 to $20 for a meal, and that's all for one 5-minute audition that you're probably not even going to get. So you have to be prepared to do that over and over and over and over again and not expect anything in return. Like, I've gone on over 100 auditions for major network shows, and I haven't gotten any of them. So, and my manager is still with me, and he explains that that's just part of it. Whether your part that you audition for gets written off of the show, or they ended up not doing the show, if it's for a pilot, whatever the circumstances, that's just part of it. You need to put in those working hours of auditions to finally get to the end product, which it would be a starring role in whatever show or movie that you're auditioning for. But yeah, I tell people all the time that it's not easy, and it's not a sprint. It's definitely a marathon. But so that goes to why I started making my own projects. Was I would pretty much write the movies that I want to be in, that I want to act in, and then I would create the movie, and I'd put myself in the movie for whatever that role was that I was thinking about. So I pretty much have it set up where either if I get an audition through my management company and I get a spot that way into the industry, or if I make my own project to put myself in that way. That's pretty much my mindset on it. I spent too long waiting for someone else to say that I'm good enough to be in their projects, so I started putting myself in my own projects. Yeah.
That's the right way to do it, though. I mean, we're in a time now where the technology is so good that you kind of have to do that.
Right. And it's also, since anyone can make a movie or a project or whatever, you have to be careful when you're like using like Actors Access or Backstage, which are, for people that don't know, those are websites where actors can go to get auditions, apply to auditions if you don't have a manager. So there is a lot of garbage out there because it's so, the word I'm looking for, the industry is so ingested because everyone can make a project. You can go make a project. My neighbor can go make a film tomorrow if he wants to, because camera equipment is so cheap. You can rent anything you want, and you have access to go on to Actors Access and post your project and get actors for it. So there is a lot of, I definitely don't think that we're still in a time of, take any role you can get, because there's things out there that could hinder your success. I think having some things in particular on your resume just because, but I don't live in New York City, so I'm not paying the price that people that live in New York City or LA have to pay to stay there. So like I wouldn't put myself in the category of a starving artist because I do have other jobs and other sources of income coming in.
Yeah, you definitely, that's another thing I haven't addressed that much on here, but it's so important to have multiple revenue streams if you're working, if you're trying to do this industry. Even if you get established,
right?
Like, you have to.
Yeah, even if you do, like, let's say tomorrow I get a part on a show, like a speaking role, that spot doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to skyrocket to success right after that part. Like you see a lot where, like, for actors that get lucky and they get that like opportunity in the beginning of their career, and they haven't struggled that much, they get that one spot to be on a TV show or a movie, and you see that they almost end up disappearing after that project because they don't have I don't know. It's hard to say. Like they haven't put their time in, so it's almost like they don't appreciate it as much, and they're not prepared for getting the letdown that they're not going to have people knocking on their door necessarily after that project to give them more work. So you always need I'm not a big fan of backup plans. I think that distracts from plan A. Like they don't tell, if you go to college to go get a doctor's degree or to be a lawyer or to be a police officer, no one ever asks, what's your backup plan for that? And, there is no guarantee when you go to college or go to a police academy that you're going to have a job after that, or you can get laid off. Like, what's your backup plan after that? You know what I mean? Like even trades, like electricians or workers, there are periods where you can get laid off, and no one asked them what their backup plan was back then when they first started going to trade school. I think people say that a lot about the entertainment industry because they're very naive of what's actually going on, and they don't understand that, there's actually unions for acting. Like if you're a camera guy, there's a union for that. If you're an actor, there's a union for that, which have benefits. And, people are pretty oblivious to that when they don't, if they're not grown up in that, anyone in the household that works in that industry, they think that it's, again, like the starving artist idea, which I don't think is really, I think you become a starving artist if you're naive to think that you're just going to make it, by just moving to New York or moving to LA and not having another source of income. And I don't think that that's a very smart approach to it. It's not sustainable enough for the time that you need to put in as an actor or filmmaker.
Yeah. Got to wait tables, just do a lot of whatever job you can get, because you're not qualified for much else most of the time.
Yeah, and that's why I think it's, I think when you're like a creative person, as an actor usually is, you have that potential to bring your creativity to other sources of income. Like so I'm a bartender and a personal trainer. That's what I do to make ends meet, per se. And, even with personal training, I can use my creativity to, think of new classes to have people sign up for, or, helping the gym with social media and stuff like that, and also with bringing my creativity over to filmmaking, and like all my short films I make, I score all of them. That's something I'm very interested in. So, I think you have to give yourself the, what's the word I'm looking for? You have to like approve yourself and say it's okay for you to go in and try to do these things yourself, you know, and work that creative part of your brain to get that work done.
One thing that can happen though is, I noticed this with me with my music, but it could happen with a filmmaker too. Is because you're working independently, like so much, it's easy to fall into that trap of not understanding how to collaborate with other people.
Correct.
When you get that opportunity, and you might want to micromanage. There's going to be that temptation to micromanage everything.
Right.
So
yeah, I think that's definitely important to be able to, you know, finding creative people wherever you are, wherever you live, you know, getting into that community of your town, and, you know, really being able to knock ideas off of other people, because when you start to get like bigger projects, you need to be able to, you know, spread your workload out to other people so you can focus on the things that you really want to be passionate about. Like if you're an actor or director, you know, you have to be careful because, you know, one of those things is going to be put to the side. There's going to be one, you know, whether you're focusing more on directing or focusing more on acting, you have to be careful with that.
Yeah. Have you had instances since you've been doing this where you started working with a team and because you're so independent, you notice your own ego kind of getting out of control?
So I would say that, we've just recently made 4 short films, where we were working. I think I had some people come on to help me out, some of my friends that weren't really, to say, like aware of, you know, how some things work on set. And I would say in that instance, I definitely, you know, like there needed to be a leader on set to say, this is not how we're doing it. You know, it needs to be done like this, which I think is, you know, that is the director's job. They are the leader of the whole project and it's their medium. You know, it's not up to the actor or up to the sound guy of how the project will lay out. But like back to last year, we made a short film called The Girl, which went on to, it played at a few festivals and won a few awards. And a buddy of mine, Brett Schmidt, who is a professional makeup artist working in the industry now, he helped me out with the project and he was like my camera guy. And we have a very, it's almost like our brain paths of creativity are on the same wavelength. And so I let a lot of, even though I was the director of that project and I was the main star in the project, I did let a lot of my ideas go through him. And I would say, you know, Brett, just take care of this because I can trust him. I think it's important to find people that you can put your whole trust into, and they, you know, it's important to make sure everyone's on the same page, where in pre-production, if you're making storyboards or getting style shots of what the project's going to be about, I think that's super important to make sure everyone's on the same page. So when the day of the shoot, you know, it's easy to get distracted and take like an easier route, but it's not what the final project should be. So I think it's very important for everyone to be on the same page, and that way everything goes smoothly and everything would make sense in the final product. You know, when it's coming to the close of like a shoot day, you know, it's easy for the morale on the set to drop low and everyone starts getting lazy. And if everyone's on the same page, you know, they can kind of boost everyone up to get to that final end result.
How have you dealt with some times where like clearly nobody else was on the same page? Like, I mean, I guess you kind of answered that with that one instance, but
yeah, I haven't really gone to a point in that yet, because usually most of the people I've hired for projects are close friends of mine. And they do, if they insert like an idea, I totally take, as a director, I take all opinions on set. But there's never been like you know, we always all usually end on the same page. You know, whether it's they have to correct me or I have to correct them, we always end up back onto the same premise of the idea. I've never had like anyone part of the crew that was like totally against whatever the idea was.
Yeah, I'd be scared of. It's inevitable to happen though.
Oh, of course. Yeah, I mean, as you get more money and you're making bigger projects, you have to hire more people onto that project. So, you can't hire your friends forever,
Yeah, that's true.
But you just have to hope that the people that you hire are aware of, hopefully they are, they've worked in the industry before, so they kind of understand that the director has the final say. But, if there was any, like, a serious case, you would just, remove that person from set.
So are you planning on, I mean, do you feel like because you've been doing the directorial stuff more, do you feel like you're kind of pulled away from what your real passion is, which is acting, or do you feel like it's become equal?
Yeah, so I've actually been battling with that a lot lately because initially it was all for, growing up, I just loved cinema. I love movies. That was like my thing. And I never really thought about, being an actor or filmmaker was ever like really a possibility. And I had met this kid I was going to community college for a semester, and this kid in my class said that he was an actor. And I found out down the road that it was a lie. But he said he was going to be in this like big movie. And so I was like, oh, if he does this, I can do this. So the first drive through was acting. And I think as time goes on, it's definitely going to be, both of how I'm feeling at that time, if that makes sense. Like, whether I'm acting or if I'm making a movie, I'm going to be happy. So, I started to make projects because I wasn't working as an actor. I wasn't getting a lot of auditions, or I wasn't getting callbacks or work from the audition. So I said, like I said before, I'm not going to sit there and wait for someone else to say that I'm good enough. I know that I'm good and I'm confident as an actor. So I'm going to go make my own project. And that's also something I'm interested in too. Those are two very, very, very big passions of mine. I don't know if I can really put one in front of the other. But as my career goes on, that's going to be on both. Those are both, you could almost say like acting is plan A and being a director is plan B.
So you kind of found the passion accidentally for it.
Right. Well, we always made, growing up, we were always making movies with like a tape recorder camera. So that was always there. Like we were always making trailers for like class projects, and none of it was good, but that idea of creating things was always there, creating films and stories. So I guess it was never, and actually now that I think about it, as a kid, I was always the guy that was recording, and I was always recording my friends because they all always wanted to be in the movie. And I was always in the back of the camera saying, man, I want to get in front of that camera. I want people to see my face, and that whole idea. So I guess that's how it sprouted into acting. But, over time I guess when I first started, I was filled with the idea of like, being a Hollywood celebrity and, being that hot actor. And as time goes on and I'm getting older, I'm realizing that's not really I'm building a bigger passion for acting and the actual craft of it, instead of the whole being famous and being a celebrity scene, which I think was what initially got me excited about pursuing acting. And now I'm getting really into the filmmaking side of it. So I think it's always going to be, I'll both be an actor, director, and a writer, which is another passion of mine, is writing screenplays. So I think all three of those are going to be all part of my career book as I progress.
I like that you actually admitted to the sorry, I have to turn my air conditioner on. It might be a little loud, but I was trying to turn it off to be professional, but it's not happening.
All right.
I like that you admitted that you wanted to be famous, because
Yes.
I think a lot of people in our industry like want to act like they don't want to be famous because it's cool,
Right.
but
Yeah,
deep down we all have that a little
that
bit.
was definitely the main driving point at the beginning when I first started acting, like, you know, posting on Instagram, like going to New York, going to an audition, what's up? But now I don't ever post when I'm going on an audition anymore. Hold on, these trucks are passing. Might get a little loud for a second.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, I used to be posting, you know, Snapchatting every time I was going to New York City, going to an audition, but now I don't even I don't post about anything unless I get a role, or if I'm officially starting a project, I won't really post about anything, because so many things fall through, and then I just feel like you just look like an idiot.
Yeah.
You know, it looks like a very, like, you know, you're looking for attention, which I was towards the beginning of it, but after going on so many auditions, you know, it gets old. You don't really, you know, you got to just like put your head down and work and not really worry about what other people are thinking. Like, when I first started, I was like always worried of like I had to prove to people that it was working and I was actually doing stuff to pursue acting. But now I know, because that was just me being insecure about it and like letting everyone else's thoughts get into my head that I shouldn't be pursuing acting and filmmaking. So now I just like, you know, I don't really care what other people's thoughts are on it, really. I kind of just put my head down and work.
Yeah, I've in the last year finally gotten to that place too, where it's like I don't care about what people think about what I'm pursuing. Like if somebody's
Right.
like, "Oh, that's not practical," but
Right. I
that
almost
took
don't even tell.
6
I almost
years.
don't even tell people.
Yeah,
Like they say, like if I'm talking to someone and they ask me what I do, and I say, "Oh, I'm an actor," and they say, "Oh, keep going," you know, do what you love, and I'm like, "Yep, I got it." Like I don't, like I've heard it so many times, and it's like, and it's usually from people that don't work in the industry, so they don't really understand it. So I kind of just like, I try to not mention it as much as I can.
yeah. The more you talk about it, the less professional you look.
Right. And then you get into this zone where like you feel that you have to prove something to this person and explain to them like, yeah, I haven't been getting auditions because of this, or, you know, this is why this is going to work, you know, and it's just like, it's exhausting. Like you just really need to be confident in yourself and put the work in for it.
How did you ever have like were your parents like cool with it? Like have
Yeah.
they?
So my mother, she worked for UPS for a long time, and then she was diagnosed with MS in the 2000s. So she stopped working on because of her disability. And my father is an electrician.
Mm-hmm.
So, but they're very positive and they're very for me. In the beginning, when I first started pursuing it, I was still in college, and they told me that I wasn't allowed to, you know, drop out of college. But then it got to a point where I was auditioning so much in the city that I was missing class to go to these auditions. So my GPA was starting to drop. So that was the deal I made with them, was I will go to school, but once it gets to that point where I'm too busy to go, I'm going to drop out. And they agreed to that. So now, like, they're definitely more confident now than ever, after opening my production company and making a lot of projects. And when I signed with my manager 2 years ago, they were very, you know, that was a very good indication that what I was doing was working, and I was actually progressing, and I wasn't just like, you know, I think they were worried that growing up, I used to pick up a lot of different hobbies, and when I didn't like the hobby, I would just push it aside. Like guitar is a hobby that stuck. I've been playing guitar for like 10 years now. And I think they were initially worried that maybe I was going to start pursuing acting and I would get lazy when I wasn't going to be working. And, you know, then I would piss my life away and I'd be stuck in some job. But I think as time goes on, they see how serious and committed I am of it, like putting my time in acting classes, going to the city for auditions, doing tape auditions, signing with my manager, opening the production company. You know, they see that there's these these goals I'm setting for myself, I am achieving those goals. And the more I work in the industry, the more I understand it, which means the more I can make them understand it. Because they were, every now and again, my dad would, he'd bust my balls and be like, you haven't acted and, you haven't gone an audition in a while, what's going on with this? What's going on with this? And, it takes time. Like right now we've had, like pilot season just ended. And for the next few months, there's not really a lot of network auditions yet until episodic season starts again towards the end of the summer. So this is a break period where for the big roles, a lot of those aren't coming out right now. So, it takes time, really. You have to meet all the casting directors. You have to go to all those auditions. And, as time goes on, you start becoming more relevant. You start becoming a better actor. You start becoming more confident. Your skin starts getting thicker. But it's definitely like, you definitely need support. It would be very hard to do this if my parents were constantly putting me down about it. I'd probably ignore them anyway, but just that, they are confident in me and they are pushing me to do it, and having a girlfriend that she is also pushing me to pursue this. So I think that's very important. And to get the people that don't understand it, or they do constantly push you down or constantly have a problem with what you're doing, you need to get those people out of your life, because they're going to drive you down. As an actor, you're self-conscious enough. So you're putting yourself down as it is, thinking about everything like, is this going to work? Is this not going to work? You really don't need another person to be adding to all that.
Yeah, that whole like adage, like that you're the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with, is really true.
100%. Yeah, I've seen like a lot of friends end up, weaning out of my main core group because they don't understand it, or they're not for it, or they always have something to criticize about it. I totally love people that criticize my work in a positive way, or explaining what I could improve on. But I definitely have come across friends that would just like put everything down, that whatever I was putting out, there was a problem with it. So I did my best to, wean those people out, or not show them my work and not ask for their opinion anymore.
Yeah, they're probably jealous at that point. And it's hard to detect that, like whether it's jealousy or if it's the valid criticism.
Right. It's weird. So you went to Vernon too. I don't know if you've come across this. So everyone listening, Vernon, New Jersey, is the town that we both grew up in and went to school to. I find that a lot of people, there's a lot of artists that have come out of like Vernon High School, no one famous, but, people that do pursue the arts, whether it's music or acting or filmmaking, whatever it is. And I find that a lot of people from Vernon, from the hometown, it's so hard to, like impress your peers that went to Vernon. Like everyone wants to always put you down, whatever it is. At least I found.
It's a very competitive area, for sure.
Yeah, and it's not even it's not from other people. Like people that are in the community are very for each other, that do pursue those things. But everyone on the outside, it's almost like they try their best to go against what you're trying to do. Like they're like, you should be going to college, you should be doing this, just because they were told that that's the way to go. But it's funny because most of the people I find that I grew up with that are going to school, they either, besides there are definitely the few that are going in the right direction, but, the majority are going to school and they don't enjoy it. They enjoy the parties and stuff, but they don't enjoy what they're learning. They're barely interested in it. And they're not prepared for doing things on their own, like college. Almost like the whole idea of like having someone holding your hand through the whole process, I think that's detrimental to you becoming like an actual, a go-getter adult when you do get into the real world, for jobs and stuff like that. Like you need to have that attitude to really, blow past everyone else that's going to apply for those same jobs that have the same degree as you do. Like a college degree is the same as a high school degree, the high school diploma now, like everyone has it. So what's going to make you stand out from those other people? And most of the people I find that are going to college, all the kids, they never like get past like that growing up point, you know. And this is not all kids in college, of course, but a majority that I've seen, they're still stuck in like that, you know, someone's going to help me once I graduate and get my degree, someone's going to help me the next step, but there is no one there to help you, you know. That's when they say, that's when they kick you out of the nest and you got to go figure it out. So like I always told my dad when I first started acting, I said I get at least 4 years of a grace period to pursue this before I get any work, because that's what, if I went to college for 4 years, I wouldn't be working in that, whatever degree I pursued, I wouldn't be working in that field for another 4 years until I graduated, if I was lucky to even get a job at the end of the 4 years. So I always said, you know, I get 4 years to work as an actor, and if I haven't made any ground or if nothing's working, then I'll, you know, maybe think about doing something else. But, you know, if you pursue something that's not with a college where you go to school, people expect results just like that. And they're not comparing it where when you go to school, you know, that's 4 to like 8 years that you're going to be in class, not working in your profession yet. But for some reason, people don't want to give someone not going to college when they first start whatever their passion is or job or business. They don't even think about that 4 years that they'd be in school not doing anything for their career. So by the time now, you know, I've been working at acting for 3 years now, the people that are getting out of school now are just starting their, you know, to get to the 3-year point that I'm at in my actual career, they're starting at year 1 now. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And you know, it's the thing that, I mean, I went to a little bit of college. I went to CCM for music.
Right.
But I didn't finish. I only took, and I also didn't go full time. I took like classes, like a class a semester.
Right.
And I valued the education I got out of there.
Right.
But I can't recommend anybody who's going into the arts go to school. Because they don't even teach you how to handle the business side of it.
Right. And I think at like the time that we're in now, like to me, the best part, if you're going to go to school for acting or anything in the arts, the best thing that you're going to get out of the school system that people that don't go to school is you're going to have those connections with other artists that are in that school and professors, you know, and that is totally a huge benefit and a leg up, I think. But, you know, you have to also put into the fact where, so let's say if you wanted to be a filmmaker, I think you're better off saving your tuition money that you'd be paying to go to that filmmaking school, buy a good camera, buy whatever equipment you need, and start making your own films by yourself. Because when you go to film school, they're going to teach you about film, which you can do online by yourself. You can research all of the film you want. You can watch all the films you want. You know, there's lists of the actual films that you'll watch in film school. Yeah. And if you are in love with film, it's films that you've already seen already, usually, like all the classic movies. So I think you're better off taking that money and buying a camera and making your own projects, because when you go to film school, they're going to make you make film projects and you're going to rent their equipment. So, and then once you get out of school, you're not going to have any money to do anything, to buy equipment or to rent equipment. You're going to have to get a job again to build that capital up to make your next project. So I think you're better off spending the money initially to getting camera gear, because you can always, it's not like there's no one that can judge your work. You know, if people are thinking like, oh, I need to go to class so a professor can show me what I'm doing right and doing wrong. But, you know, I think that totally takes away from the artist part and the creativity part to make your work unique, where when you go to a class and your professor judges it, they're going to be judging your project the same as everyone else's project. And it's going to be what their opinion is. So, you know, and their opinion, clearly a professor that's teaching at a college, you know, didn't make it as a filmmaker. You know what I mean? Yeah. So like they're not going to teach you how to film like Quentin Tarantino, because he's going against what everyone else does. You know, he didn't go to film school. He famously said that he didn't go to film school. He went to films and he watched movies and he learned from the love of cinema, through the love of cinema, how to make an actually good movie and a story. So, you know, that's my opinion on film school.
Yeah, I mean, getting some. I mean, the good thing is if you're an actor, like you don't need to make a big gear investment, thank God. But if you're going to be a filmmaker or do what I do, it's super expensive. Like
Yes.
doing music, doing film. It's such like gear is always a good investment.
Yeah.
Like as long as you
Because
get something decent.
right, like down the road, it's always going to become like the reason I started this production company was because I was always renting equipment for my past projects, and I was like, why don't I just put down, a few $1,000s, buy my own equipment, so I don't have to
Yeah.
continuously rent equipment for future projects. I'll always just have it, and I don't have to ever worry about, you know, like the fact that I have this equipment now. I'll never have to worry about making money to make the project I want to make. Um,
Yeah.
Within reason. Obviously, I'm not going to go make Star Wars. I don't have enough, production budget for that yet. But there's nothing stopping me from going and filming whatever I want to film. I don't have to worry if if I lose all my money tomorrow, I'm still going to have my camera. I'm still going to have that equipment. So I'm never going to be worried about where the money's going to come from to make my next production.
And that gives you a secondary skill too, because
Right.
like the reason we met was because our mutual friend Kevin hired you to film stuff for him.
Right.
Even though that's not your primary thing, because you
Right.
have that equipment, you
Right.
have
And it allows me to still work in my industry, where instead of like let's just say I just became a professional camera operator. If I was making money from that and I was working in the industry, and that still allows me to pursue acting and filmmaking because I'm meeting people in the industry, I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
Like I'm fine not making millions and millions of dollars as, a top celebrity actor or filmmaker. Just being in the industry and around like-minded people and getting out of, the cubicle and the other jobs that I've done, like I think that's so important. And you need to tell yourself that, and like understand that it's not definite that you're going to make it as an actor or filmmaker. So I think as long as you're, at least the way I look at it, as long as I'm working in the industry and I'm working at it, I'm content with that.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm like, even though I'm still, not there yet, we both still have day jobs, but the fact that I feel now like I'm at a place where my career is, while it's not, I'm not making millions of dollars, but I feel like my career is moving.
Right.
Even though I'm not making a lot and I'm working a day job, it's finally kind of starting to come.
Right.
And once you get to that point, it really takes a lot of your imposter syndrome. Like it kind of frames your head better.
Yeah.
Like once you, yeah.
Yeah. It like sets you, it makes you realize like, oh, okay, this is what it takes. Like it does take hard work. It, just getting lucky is not going to happen. And it's almost like you said, like setting your mind straight of what you need to do to, get to that next goal or that next milestone that you have for yourself. And I think it's important to have a plan too. Like looking at it in your head, like what is the next thing that you're going to do? Like for my production company, for instance, next month we're making a 30-minute film. So it'll be our biggest film that we've produced so far. And my plan of making that 30-minute film is so next year we can make our feature film. So, and then with that feature film, we can actually sell that, and we can plan on start making money from that production, because you can't, you don't sell short films.
No.
There is no money in that, for a sense. The actual money is in the feature. So, that is the goal, and that's what I have in mind. I'm not just winging it. Like there is definitely a set plan here of how I want the company to go and my career to go. Like with my manager right now, like our main goal is getting me as a series regular on a TV show, so I can start paying the bills through that instead of paying it with bartending and personal training. So, there's always, you need a plan. You can't just close your eyes and run and wing it and hope, something gets lucky, because then you'll get, 2 months will go by and you haven't gone on an audition, Yeah. And then you start getting further and further and further away of your goal, thinking someone's going to just like, nobody's looking for you. Nobody is searching for you. when you go into an audition and you're meeting with a casting director, they want you to be the solution to their problem, which is they need to hire someone for this part. But nobody's searching the internet for Austin Rappold right now trying to find me. You know what I mean?
No.
So you need to make a name for yourself and be confident with yourself and put yourself out there.
Yeah, and this kind of relates to that. I one thing I noticed is I feel like the way the industry has moved, like especially I would imagine an actor gets the attitude like that they make the film.
Right.
But especially nowadays, actors don't sell films. Like,
no.
It's like the franchise itself actually sells the film.
Yeah. Like I said before, like film and movies is a director's medium. It's not an actor's medium. An actor's medium is the theater. When you're working on a project, it's, the film is what's going to make the film. If you put, like No Country for Old Men, for instance, if you put other actors in those roles, the movie's still going to work because the story is good and the writing is good. Where if you put, let's say someone just wrote a screenplay and it was a terrible screenplay and they're a terrible filmmaker, they've never made a movie before. If you put Josh Brolin in their film, that film is not going to be good just because Josh Brolin is in it, unless he changes the script.
Yeah.
So I think the most important thing, they always say that story is king. And I think that's the most important part of everything, is that nothing's going to work if the story is not good. It's not going to matter.
Yeah, and that's what's really good about you becoming a filmmaker, as opposed to just being an actor. One of the best pieces of advice I ever got was from a composer who hopefully I'll be having on here soon. His name's Brian Satterwhite. Well, two things he mentioned on a podcast was, one was if you fail, it's because you quit somewhere along the way. And the other one was that you have to think of yourself as a storyteller, as a filmmaker. Like me as a composer, I am technically a filmmaker, and you as an actor, you are also a filmmaker. Like it's like kind of you have that perspective.
Yeah, I think once you start, the more I went into filmmaking and writing my own screenplays and stories, you can understand as an actor how the story is going to play out, and what parts of the story are important, and understanding that it's not just going on camera and looking good isn't going to make this movie good. Having that understanding and, understanding your character arc as an actor and how you're going to portray that and change your emotions throughout the story is super important. And you appreciate everything more. Like making a film is really hard. It's not easy. It's not just grabbing a camera, running outside and filming your friends. There's a lot of prep that goes into making a film. And it is very hard, and there's a lot of tasks that have to be done. So, when you make your own project, you start to have a greater understanding of everything. And also being an actor gives you a lot of benefits for being a filmmaker. I suggest that if you are a filmmaker, that you go to an acting class, take some acting classes, and understand, so you understand what you're asking of your actor when you want them to, say a line. So both parties have an understanding of what they're doing, I think is super important. And it helps you understand stories, and makes you understand character development more when you actually take an actor class and you appreciate how hard it is to act on a project.
Yeah, as a filmmaker, you really have to be somewhat knowledgeable of every task that goes into the making a film. I was surprised when you said you scored your films, because most directors don't have any knowledge of that.
Yeah, I'm very when I think of an idea or a project or a story in my head, it plays in my head as a movie. Like every beat of action, every bit of dialogue, the music, the sound design behind it, that all plays in my head. And I find it very, when I edit all my work too. So when I'm editing and I'm building all of the sound and the score of the whole project, that's it's very satisfying to me, and it's easier for me to do it myself than to, explain my concept or idea to somebody else. But of course, as projects get bigger and I am not focusing on scoring as much and doing sound design, that's where it would come in for me to hire somebody else. But
hopefully
as I am, yes. But where I'm at now, I think I have time to do it myself and really get in and, create that story with sound for the film.
And that's good that you have that background, because like I said, I mean, one of the most difficult things when I'm working with a director is that as a composer, I feel like it's like lighting or like how to use it, or like cinematography, like even if you don't know a lot about them, you can, if you're a filmmaker and you don't necessarily have a whole ton of skill in those disciplines, they're kind of easy to understand, like
right.
what's going on. But with music, like if you don't know music, like it's like it's so abstract. Trying to communicate it is like impossible for a lot of directors. So,
and I think it's important to like when you have the knowledge of the different facets of filmmaking. When you do go to hire people, what's good and what's not good. Where if I just hired some random guy to compose my short film or movie, and he played it for me and it was garbage, I may not, if I'm not educated on it, I may not realize that it's garbage and it's not good and it's not right for the story, and he could just say, oh no, this is good, this is right, but it may not be right for that project. So that's why I think it's important to really understand all parts of filmmaking, not just directing, and especially writing your own story too. You get a better understanding, that when you write a screenplay, like that story is part of you. You always bring something from your own life into that story. So you have a better understanding of it when you go to direct it, of how it needs to go. And, the emotional part of everything, how to direct the actors on that and how the sound should be and what the shot should look like.
Yeah. That I admire that, because I know, like, if we ever did work together, it'd probably be a lot easier because you have that background. Whereas I usually have to just kind of fight it.
Right. It would be like the same thing, like I said, with my buddy Brett, with him being the camera operator, that we're both on the same wavelength and I can let him, I trust that he knows what he's doing, where he can go off and get the shot and I can just trust him that it's a good shot. Where, if you and me are working together, I understand the language of scoring and music, so I can easily get my point across to you and there won't be any wasted time where I have to go in and make it myself to explain it.
Yeah. What do you, curious, getting into a little technical stuff, what do you use for scoring?
So I have an 88 key MIDI controller keyboard, but I use, what I'll do is there's a lot of websites like, I'm sure like Video Copilot.
Is that like a licensed music type of thing, or?
Yeah, so they'll have like music packs. Like, let's say they have like one of their things is like a movie scoring pack, let's just say. And when you buy that pack for $200, whatever it is, you get the license to use all of those sounds and scores in your projects. And the way that they break it down is, there will be like, let's say there's 70 score pieces, and then you can break each piece down to find, like, say you just want the vocals from this track and you want the strings from this track, and then you can build your own score from those tracks. And then they also have like, tons and tons and tons of different files of like eerie sounds or like, tree branches breaking, stuff like that. So there's a lot of websites that sell sound packs and stuff like that where you can use those to design your music for your project.
Oh, okay. So you're not scoring in the way that I do. You're just kind of assembling from the packs. Like you're
right.
Okay, so you're not actually like writing music per se. It's kind of like a DJ. Almost.
Sure.
It's like a DJ approach.
Right. Yeah. Orchestrating all of the sounds together.
Yeah. That's still that takes a vision. That takes a certain amount of know-how.
And we also do like a lot of the projects, a lot of the sound design. I will go out and record fully for all the projects, like door slamming or feet walking, stuff like that.
That is my least favorite thing to do, but sometimes people ask me to do it. I hate it. I hate doing Foley and sound design. It's not fun.
I enjoy it. It's like my favorite part.
I don't know why. I just, it's so tedious to me. But I mean, if somebody hires me to do it, I'm gonna do it because it's easy. Like, well, I mean, it's not easy, but it's just like I have. It's kind of like with the video thing for you. It's like I have the equipment to do it. I have the know-how to do it, so I might as well take the job if somebody offers it.
Right.
Even though I don't necessarily want to do it.
Right.
Okay. Well, I think we pretty much covered all the ground. I mean, I asked the 2 questions. I asked the what was your biggest thing holding you back, but I think you kind of answered the other question, which is your biggest strength.
Right.
I'm just gonna go out on a limb and say it's adaptability for you. It sounds like you're pretty adaptable.
Yeah. I ended up like, if something interests me, I will go down like this rabbit hole and breaking down every part of it and what it's done, and I really just become obsessed with whatever it is that I'm trying to teach myself or learn more about. And like I said, like growing up, changing hobbies, and my friends would get annoyed about it because I'd always be like I had a DJ phase, I had like a magician phase, and I would just like learn everything about how to do all those things. And like I said, a few things stuck, like guitar stuck, filmmaking stuck. So I really just like get a complete obsession about breaking down how everything is done. So yeah, I would say a very severe obsession with my passions is probably a benefit in my life, I would say.
Yeah, it's I have a very similar disposition. I get really, really, really into things, and like I have to know every detail about it. Yeah. So, but it can feel like a setback in a lot of ways because you don't focus as much, but you always have that little bit of information you can pull from later.
Right, and you may find that it may take your thought of a career into a different direction too. So, that's part of finding what you are passionate about and putting to side what you're not passionate about.
Yeah, and you also have to know because like you and me have that personality type. But some people like are at their best when they're zeroed, like they're 100% pinpointed. Yeah,
100%.
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess we can start closing out. So if you can just give people your social media links wherever they want you to find them. Or wherever you want them.
So my personal Instagram is Austin_Rappold. So my last name is Rappold, and my production company's Instagram is at Rappold Entertainment. And they both have www.austinrappold.com is my acting and directing website, and then www.rappoldentertainment.com is my production company's website. And also, anyone hearing later on this week, my production company is doing a giveaway. I'm not going to say what we're giving away yet, but just go follow the account, stay tuned to see everything about that. So, yeah, that's what we got going on right now.
All right, well, this episode will be up Thursday, so hopefully they'll get...
All right, cool. Yeah, that's about when I'm going to start. The giveaway is going to go out Thursday or Friday, so...
So you can just say it now, then, because I'm going to post it then.
Yeah, everyone go follow Rappold Entertainment and see our giveaway. We're giving away a pair of Apple AirPods, so all you have to do is go to the picture, like the post, tag 3 friends, and follow Rappold Entertainment and my personal account, Austin Rappold. And every additional 3 people you tag is another entry into the contest. So yeah, spread it out and tag your friends and creative friends that want a free pair of Apple AirPods. Who wouldn't want that, you know?
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for coming on. And
got it. Thanks for having me.
I'm sure I'll see you soon. All right.
Yes. All right, buddy.
Bye.